Now, Brian Wilson, Mary Catherine Ham, Brian Neiman, today's newsmakers, and you, the Morning Majority. 105.9 FM. AM 630. WMAL.
6:37 on WMAL. Do want to tell you big news here. Sean Hannity and his friends hitting the road this holiday season, and they're coming here. They're coming to Washington, D.C. You can join Sean and his friends. #1 best-selling author Oliver North. Platinum-selling recording artist Michael W. Smith, 5 for Fighting, an intimate evening of hope and celebration. Sean Hannity's holiday concert salute to the troops. The concert, WMAL, it's planned for Saturday, December 3rd. Write that down. Saturday, December 3rd. It's at the Hyatt Regency, Washington, right on Capitol Hill. Sean Hannity's holiday concert salute to the troops benefits the Freedom Alliance Scholarship Fund. Freedom Alliance, a charitable foundation founded by Oliver North, supports military heroes and provides college scholarships for the sons and daughters of service members killed or permanently disabled in action. You can get your tickets today. It's December 3rd. It's Saturday. Go to WMAL.com. Phil Kerpen joins us now. He is with Americans for Prosperity. He's written a new book called Democracy Denied, How Obama is Ignoring You and Bypassing Congress to Radically Transform America and How to Stop Him. Morning, Phil.
Good morning. Thanks for having me on the show.
All right, so the president in recent days has pretty much said, hey, I'm going around Congress because I can't get anything through to get passed. So he's publicly saying that now. But I want to get your take on what are the biggest things that he's done bypassing Congress that has, reshaped this country or reshaped policy?
Well, it is amazing that he's gone out on the road just when my book came out to make sure everyone understands that this is the phenomenon that's driving the administration right now. So I hope that it'll help folks pick up the book and understand a little bit better what he's up to. But, this effort to get his bailout and stimulus 2.0 or 3.0, whatever number he's on, around Congress is not the first time he's done this. And some of the other really notable examples, of course, the cap and trade bill, which he told us would make electricity prices skyrocket and bankrupt coal. It was never even taken up in the Senate. Dozens of Democrats lost their House seats because they voted for it. The day after the election, he said, that was just one way to skin the cat. I'll have the EPA do it. And indeed, he wrote those emissions reductions into the EPA's budget, and they're pursuing them by any number of regulatory means. 6 weeks after the election last year, in an election in which all 95 candidates who campaigned on the idea of net neutrality, FCC regulations for the Internet, lost. The FCC voted on a 3-2 party line vote to begin regulating the Internet, the economics of the Internet, for the first time in 10 years. And, of course, the card check bill crashed and burned last Congress, but Obama sure is having his union bureaucrats at the National Labor Relations Board and the Department of Labor pursue all of that anyway. We had sort of the inverse of that with respect to offshore drilling and access issues. Congress lifted the ban in the outer continental.
Are any of these things illegal? Are any of these things illegal, or does he have the right to do this as president?
Well, we'll find out from the courts. I think the FCC's Internet regulations are almost certainly illegal because the D.C. Circuit Court had already struck down something very similar just a few months before, and of course Verizon is suing, so we'll find out again about that sometime soon. There are 15 states suing the EPA over their global warming regulations, and those cases are moving very, very slowly. The offshore drilling ban, of course, Ken Salazar was held in contempt of court and was smacked down, and he pretty much kept it in place anyway, and now he's kind of, they've officially lifted the Gulf moratorium, but they're being very, very slow with permitting, so sort of slow walking to accomplish the same thing. So I think a lot of these things are unlawful. Sometimes you can actually get relief in the courts, other times you can't. I think in a bigger sense, though, they go against Article 1, Section 1 of the Constitution, the very first thing our founders wrote down after the famous We the People preamble, which is that Congress has the legislative power. And I think that's a very important principle, and it's one that the president is now out on the stump bashing on a daily basis, basically saying that the president should be able to write the laws as well as enforce them. And I think that's a very, very frightening concept.
Phil, we're talking to Phil Kerpen, author of Democracy Denied, by the way, of the Americans for Prosperity. I wanted to ask you, I remember liberals having a lot of issues with executive orders and executive power back when Bush was president. How are they reacting to Obama's actions, and how do Obama's actions compare historically?
Well, I think there's been some amazing hypocrisy with respect to executive power under Bush versus Obama. And, Obama campaigned very heavily against presidential power. I mean, he went out and said, I taught constitutional law for 10 years, and I know the president can't just decide what law to enforce or not to enforce. And he was talking about signing statements. Then he came into power and said, of course, signing statements are great. They're the president's prerogative. In fact, I think he sort of took signing statements to a new low in April of this year when he negotiated a specific agreement with Congress to avoid a government shutdown. Part of the agreement that he agreed to specifically was to pull funding for 4 of his White House special advisor positions, czar positions. And then he issued a signing statement saying, I'll keep whatever czars I want, thank you very much. So he actually used a signing statement to break a specific negotiated deal he had just made with Congress, something that I don't think Bush ever did. And in the national security area, all the stuff the left was up in arms about has continued because Obama, got advice from the various national security folks when he came in, and they said you got to keep Guantanamo open, you got to do wiretapping, et cetera, et cetera. He also, of course, did these ridiculous TSA searches without a vote of Congress, and I think if Bush had done that, we would still be hearing about it.
Let me ask you this question. I mean, I've sort of been a person who has issue with the executive branch going around Congress. I mean, this sort of thwarts the vision of the Founding Fathers. The Founding Fathers made Congress the body that is most directly reportable to the people. People send people to Congress who represent their viewpoint, and if there are enough people in Congress who represent a viewpoint that's different than the executive, it's supposed to be hard for things to get passed. It sort of goes around the entire vision that the Founding Fathers had for this country.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. And I think that's what we're seeing right now with this We Can't Wait effort for the president. He's trying to turn that on its head. I mean, the president is out there saying, I've got to short-circuit the Constitution and try to write my own laws because Congress is dysfunctional and I need to do this for the American people. But what he's trying to do, which is more bailouts and stimulus and more big government programs, is exactly what the American people said they did not want 1 year ago in the election. This Congress was elected specifically to stop these sorts of things. So for him to just assert that he knows what we want, and obviously we were wrong in the last election, so he's going to go around that, I think is the height of arrogance and flies directly in the face of what our founders were trying to establish with a separation of powers.
The book is Democracy Denied, How Obama's Ignoring You and Bypassing Congress to Radically Transform America, and How to Stop Him. Phil Kerpen, thanks for joining us. We appreciate it.
My pleasure. Have a good one.